Don't need no
Yeah,
Jess.
but I don't have my video pulled up. Damn it.
Fuck, I can't do everything, Kevin.
What is going on, everybody? I'm Kevin from Cigar Prop, and welcome to the I Tap That Cigar Show. I said that all. See, I already messed up because I'm looking at my dumb green screen, and I messed up the whole beginning.
That's because you're trying not to move.
I'm trying not to move because my laptop battery died because my dog unplugged it a couple hours ago. So now nothing works on that laptop. So now I had to go from my desk, and I got the virtual background. And if I move real fast,
I was like in wax. You were like, "Hey, everybody, this is Kevin from Cigar Prop."
Yeah. Oh my God! Welcome to the I Tap That Cigar Show, presented by Corona Cigar. I'm your host, Kevin from Cigar Prop, and I'm coming to you live from the Drew Estate Experience Acid Studios here on the sunny Gulf Coast of Florida. And like I said, I'm sitting at my desk, so my sound might be a little different than normal. We don't have our normal backdrop, but joining me as always, my co-host Kerr Viajante, Stogie Road Cigars. Also producing tonight, producer Jessica, not joining us tonight. She actually just got home from work, so Kerr's pulling double duty today.
Jess.
So no, Jess isn't here. Good. Well, I mean, she couldn't have been here because I'd have taken her spot anyways. Because this is her. Well, I guess she could have kind of done it from the other spot, but you know. It is. We only got 3 more shows, Kerr. After tonight, 3 more shows. We go on our summer break. We're taking, 6 weeks off. And when we come back, I'll be in the new lounge, the new studio. No more fussing about. It'll be nice.
You know what? I think, I don't know. Do you know where Jessica is?
Where is Jessica?
God only knows where she is these days, so I have no idea.
Oh, I'm glad you found that one. So yes. After tonight, we got 3 more shows, and then, like I said, we go on our summer break. And I just got a text a few minutes ago from the AC guy. He's going to be out July 8th. So yes, we'll finally have AC in the new studio.
Awesome.
And then I can start getting that drywall up. So my first day of vacation. We're just going to hit the ground running and try and get as much accomplished as we can. So when we come back, we'll be in the new studio.
That's exciting, man. I can't wait to visit.
Yeah. It's awesome. I'll have room for you. Not like, I remember when I come visit your old garage, it was 2 of us squeezed in your little table, Hey
man, don't knock it. Don't knock the old lounge.
No, not. I mean, we had good times in the old lounge.
It was very tight. It was.
It was a little snug.
Little snug.
A little bit of housekeeping out of the way. This Thursday, July 29th, we'll finally be doing the live giveaway with Illusione Cigars. Fred Rui, he just got back from Nicaragua. So make sure you tune in live, because it's not just for the people that entered the contest. I believe Fred's going to be doing some live drawings and giveaways during our show. Probably only last about an hour, but definitely tune in to all the platforms. If you're watching this show, whatever platform you're watching this show on, that's what that giveaway will be on as well.
Easy, Manny. Leave Kev alone. He's experiencing some technical difficulties.
I know. I hate, because if I turn off the green screen, all you can do is see my messy office behind me, and nobody wants to do that. Plus, I have advertisers that need to be,
Same great content, Manny.
It is. Sorry. Yeah, man. Yeah, no, not liking the back. I'm not liking the background either. I don't have a choice. So, I know I have a professional studio set up, but I got a laptop that you can't take the battery out of without tearing apart the laptop. So when you plug it in, it just, what a pain in the ass. And it takes like 3 hours to charge.
All right, Kev.
I need a cigar, Kerr. Let's get right to the CigarMedics humidimeter cut and light. Remember, with the CigarMedics humidimeter, you'll always know. Oh, look at that. Now, okay, I'll hold it up in front of my black. With the CigarMedics humidimeter, you'll always know when to hold them and know when to smoke them. I am smoking a cigar from our guest tonight, Bongani Cigars. Unfortunately, Kerr, yours never came.
No.
So hopefully they're just lost or just in transit still. I smoked one last night, a really, really good cigar. So I'm really stoked to smoke this one tonight.
What are you smoking tonight?
I am smoking the Bongani. I don't have my propometer here, and I don't want to move, but I am smoking the.
Eyeball it.
I can't. 5.5. Was it 5.5 by 52? I'm assuming. No, 5 by 50. It looks like is what I've got, and it's a 71% humidity. So absolutely perfect.
I'm smoking the Lancero of the Sandella.
Right on.
I am at a comfortable 66%.
Oh, absolutely perfect. Let me grab a lighter from over here. Try. Oh, I see. I just disappeared again.
You're disappearing.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
But what doesn't disappear? Oh boy, you're wow.
I know.
Well, Kevin desperately looks for an operating lighter, an operative lighter. I'd like to share the fact that Kevin was able to overcome adversity this evening and still pull through a great background and the show notes and all that you see in front of you within a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So for all those who are critical, put you in that situation, you'd cancel the show.
Yeah, I could have went from my phone, but then that was just a pain in the butt.
Or you run a show like Bandy, the show Bandy likes to watch.
Yeah, Oak Island,
and say we didn't find anything. Well, just run the one from last year when we found that penny.
Yeah, exactly. No, nobody will notice it's a different same show. So just put different commercials; it'll be fine. So, but yeah, like we were talking, with the new lounge, I'm gonna have either a drop down green screen or one I can pull off, in case of an emergency.
Yeah. So, Kevin, tell us about our sponsors for this evening before we bring our lovely guest on.
That's it. Thank you for keeping me on track, Kerr Viajante. So,
I learned from the best of them.
Right on. So, all right, before we bring on our guest tonight, we want to take a moment to thank all of our show partners for making this happen each and every week. So thank you to JC Newman Cigars, CigarMedics, Amendola Cigars, We Are the Muscle, Jake Wyatt Cigars, Illusione Cigars, Deep in Flavor, Deep in Your Mind, K by Karen Berger Cigars, Corona Cigar, and of course, Drew Estate and Experience Acid. All right, so waiting patiently in the Experience Acid Green Room is Kamal Moukheiber from Bongani Cigars. Kamal, welcome.
Here we are, Kevin Kerr.
Good morning. Hey, hello.
Good. Hey, good. Lovely meeting you.
Good. Did I get your? I didn't know if that was an H or a K. Is it Moukheiber or Moukheiber?
It's Moukheiber.
Moukheiber.
Yes.
So, I guessed on that one with my my limited linguistic skills.
Yeah, it's a Lebanese origin.
So Lebanese, well, we're gonna get to that in a second. But where are you coming from to us tonight?
From Geneva.
Geneva,
from Switzerland.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you're coming from Switzerland or Mozambique. I saw that you had moved to Switzerland. So, all right. So what time is it in Switzerland?
It's 1:30 a.m.
Well, thank you for staying up late or getting up early to come join us for the night.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Staying up late indeed. Because the team is in Mozambique. The cigars are made in Mozambique. I myself am based in Geneva simply because the guys don't need me anymore there. They just don't want me there. I need to be, closer to our markets, to our clients.
That's good. So we got good friends of the show, Sebastian Decope with Cavalier Cigars. He's based out of he's in Switzerland right now. Are you familiar with him or his brand?
Yes, I'm familiar with the brand. I mean, Switzerland is the big hub in Europe for cigars. And many of the well-known brands, including Davidoff and El Septimo and many others, are based out of Switzerland.
Okay, so it's kind of like Miami here in Florida. That's where all the hubs are based out of.
Yeah. In a way, yes. It's because the tax treatment and the regulations on cigars in Switzerland are much friendlier than anywhere else in Europe.
Oh, right on. You had mentioned Lebanese, so I had that in my notes, and I actually had Kerr. You probably laughed when I saw my notes. I don't know how to ask things gracefully, but I've got Lebanese friends. You don't look or sound like my Lebanese friends.
Yeah. Look, I've been told that all my life. That's partly true. I don't look generally. People don't generally guess that I'm Lebanese or even that I speak Arabic. And many times this has been the source of funny misunderstandings because people would speak Arabic in front of me, assuming I didn't understand, and then I would shoot right back in Arabic. So it would be quite fun. Probably it's due to the fact that I have also some Swiss blood. I'm 25% Swiss. Might have something to do with it.
Okay, that probably makes sense. I know I have a friend of mine. He's as white can be, and both of his parents are Ukrainian. So we have a big Ukrainian community in our town, and they'll speak Ukrainian, not knowing that he can, and then they don't say nice things about him. So he always finds it quite comical. So. Other than so you're Lebanese. So we're going to start off with the little bit I know about you, because obviously you're just entering the U.S. market. You've been doing the cigar thing for a while, but born in Lebanon, studied electrical engineering at the American University of Beirut, then went on to one of the top business schools in the world, HEC in Paris. Worked in finance for almost 20 years in London. Now you own a cigar company in Mozambique, Africa. Is that it? Is that pretty much the nutshell of your life?
Yeah, spot on. I don't know where you got all of this. Yeah, absolutely right.
I'm really good at what I do. So that's everybody always, I don't know. They always say how I can come across some of the most mundane details about somebody.
The best researcher.
That I am a good researcher. We're gonna start off with college, electrical engineering. We're gonna go way back, and then we're gonna progress through the cigars. Electrical engineering to studying finance. Why the switch? Why not electrical engineering? The world always needs a good electrical engineer.
Look, yeah, that's the money question. Well, it's all about the money. I mean, engineering is a great way after high school to continue studying, to build your scientific background and so on. It was the time of the big boom in finance. And so I really wanted to be with the big boys in finance, basically. I dreamt of that, worked very hard, and eventually ended up there. Because that was how you made the most bucks. It was the most fun, the most exciting. So I went to business school in France, And from there, I got an offer to work on a trading floor in London, in the city. So I worked in a bank on the trading floor, trading what was called derivative instruments. You know, that same ones that exploded in 2008.
Yeah.
Those ones. So that was the path. And then from there, fast forward a few years, I ended up in Mozambique doing a real estate project. Actually, quite interesting story there, because I wanted to get out of finance. By that time, it was the crisis. I had done enough, and so on. And as I was in Mozambique doing that real estate project, I see some. I was out. I think I had one drink too many, and I see a guy, some guy smoking cigars, and one guy just rolling some cigars at the entrance of a club that I like quite a lot. And basically, he's Mozambican. He had spent some time in Florida. He had learned to roll cigars there, and he was doing it in a very artisan way with local tobacco. And that's how the Bongani story, the adventure started.
I'm not sure if I want to. I don't know anything about Mozambique. I don't, we from what I see on TV in the Discovery Channel. I don't know if I'd want to have one too many drinks, in a strange country that I'm not from, and then you're walking down the street. So, but I guess if you're doing business down there, maybe a little safer, I would assume.
Mozambique is very, very safe.
Is it? Okay.
It's extremely safe. I mean, like any other country, it's actually, look, let's not start comparing, but it's very safe. People are very, very friendly. And the beer is excellent. Mozambican beer is well known to be one of the very best in Africa. And music, as anywhere in Africa, but music is also very good. So you are, if you step into Maputo, you will end up in a fun bar drinking good beer sooner or later. It will find. If you don't find it, it will find you.
Do you know where Mozambique is, Kev?
I do. And then we actually have a photo of downtown Maputo. So pulled up here.
Nice, very nice. I think I don't know if I can post anything or you guys can do that, but I can perhaps contribute a picture. I don't know if you can do that or not. Anyway, of a bridge. If you tap in,
I know that bridge.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to start because, look, it looks like I'm a bit older than you guys. When I was growing up, Africa was all about famine, horror stories, civil war, and that sort of stuff. And there were quite a few of them across the continent. Keep in mind that the continent, Africa, is extremely large. You can fit all of China and all of the US and all of India inside Africa. All of that you have to reboot and forget about. Over the past 30 years, it has been a very nice cycle of growth all over the place, certainly in Mozambique. Uneven and ups and downs and so on and boom and bust. But at the end of the day, here we are. I very often start any presentations with this photograph and asking people, so where's this bridge? Is it San Francisco? Is it New York? And of course, it's in Maputo in Mozambique. It's the longest suspension bridge in Africa. So the place has moved on a lot. It's very friendly. The Mozambicans are incredibly friendly. You have to say hello to anyone you cross. If you're walking down Maputo, you're going to say "Bon dia" 15 times a day at least, and people are lovely.
So let's back up for a second. We just found out how you got to Mozambique on a business trip. Let's back up for a second and then find out. I want to know where in your life you were when you discovered cigars. I know you're walking down the street, you saw someone rolling some cigars, but when did you discover cigars for the first time?
Yeah, a very good point. I think I was in my early 20s. Actually, I don't think I know. I was in my mid-20s, about 25, 26 years old. I worked in finance, and whenever we closed a good deal, we would go have a drink and have a cigar. And then I developed the habit on weekends to go and read my paper, enjoy my cigar in a nice hotel in London, and that's where I started, and that's where I discovered it.
Okay, like a lot, like a lot of people, business, once a week thing. And then I'm assuming it turned into an everyday and multiple times a day, like the rest of us.
Absolutely. And then I went to Cuba on a holiday trip, brought back a whole load of them. So bit by bit, I just discovered and enjoyed cigars. Yeah.
So we're back. You're walking down the street. You see the gentleman rolling cigars. When did it strike you that I want to have a cigar company? How long after that moment?
Yeah, it was completely nuts because I had worked in finance all my life, which also means I had never produced anything. I had done deals and maybe produced a financial product, but I had never produced anything physical. So I thought it would be great fun, and I thought this would be some side project just for fun on the side. So, and I thought we would just produce some cigars, sell them locally in Mozambique just for a laugh. And then a number of positive coincidences started happening, to the extent that I actually kept an Excel sheet with all the good stuff that was happening. Because normally, whenever you start a new project, and I did quite a few of those, you always have a mountain to climb, right? You always have some issues, some obstacles, some crazy stuff. In this case, it was the opposite. Good stuff was happening all the time. For example, because I thought we would use, local branding, something cheap, and so on. And one guy who is a friend of a friend of a friend gets in touch and says, "Hey, look, I've heard about your project, wanting to launch the first African cigar brand." He owned a very, very good branding and advertising agency. And he said, "Look, I just want to do this. I want to do it for free for you. I love the project." He's a big cigar smoker himself. And so I said, "Look, no, don't do it for free. Just give us good payment terms because we're just starting. We don't want to do it for free." And they did an amazing job. And they helped us. We worked with them on the logo, on the meaning, on the name, and so on. Because, Bongani means be grateful in Zulu, which is the local African language where we are based. And I thought this was an amazing, very nice motto, the heart of what we want to do. Because I think if you can enjoy a good cigar with friends, that's something to be grateful for.
So we got the logo pulled up on the screen. What is the elephant? And then I'm not sure what is in the elephant's trunk. What is that?
Okay, yeah. So basically, we want to send to our clients. We have a split second, right, to send a message to our client. And the first message we want to send is, we are African. This is an African cigar, the first African cigar. And maybe we'll discuss why Africa, by the way. There's a whole reason why it makes a lot of sense to produce cigars in Africa. So the elephant is a very readily recognizable symbol of Africa. We thought about it for a while and hesitated with other symbols and other ideas, but having tested it with many people, we just elected on the elephant. Now, the elephant is holding a spear. It's a Swahili spear. So Swahili means it comes from Kenya, which is also from East Africa, another country further north. And it's holding the spear in celebration upwards. So that's how we alighted on that logo and the messaging behind it, which is be grateful.
So people so I got a map pulled up on the screen.
Oh, good.
So I do have so for a couple of reference points, I have Mozambique circled with the arrow. Up north, you'll see Musafa from the Lion King. That was in Kenya. So he was just talking about Kenya, so you can see that's where Musafa was from. And then over there to the left is Jeremiah Mirafil, over there in the Cameroon region. So
absolutely right.
Everybody knows Jeremiah. So I thought I would just pull a map up here. We'll refer back to this a couple of times throughout the show.
Very good, Kev.
You know me. I'm not good with maps.
Look, one shout out to Jeremiah, because when I started, I went to see him in Belgium to see if we could source our wrapper from them, and which we do.
Which has got to be an honor, because I mean, there's not a lot of super premium Cameroon, out there. And then when you need the best of the Cameroon, you have to go through Jeremiah. There's no, you don't have an option. He's your option.
Yeah, absolutely. The Cameroon wrapper is one of the best in the world, as we all know. It's an amazing leaf. It is one of the reasons why it makes sense to produce cigars in Africa, is because Africa has been producing top quality tobacco for a long time, except the raw material, the tobacco, is being shipped elsewhere to the Dominican Republic and elsewhere to be included in some of the best cigars in the world. So we thought, why not do the opposite? Keep source as much as possible of the raw materials locally and train the local labor force to roll cigars, and maybe we'll discuss that in more detail. So I went there literally begging and trying on my best, being on my best behavior, so they would give us some Cameroon wrapper for us.
Yeah, let's talk about just how the company got started. Was it difficult starting you say that Africa has a long history of growing tobacco, but was it difficult starting a company in Mozambique, a cigar company itself? Yeah,
I mean, like any new business, 6 years later, you think, what was I thinking? This was nuts. This was completely, unconscious. So when you start something like this, you never really know whether you are the genius of the village or the idiot of the village. And frankly, and some people might say the jury is still out. But so was it hard? So what I did is, first of all, I went to the Dominican Republic and I hired our head of production, Anthony. Anthony is deeply steeped in the cigar world. He's worked for 15 years at Macanudo. He at General Cigar. He was one of their top guys there. And I convinced him to join us in this project of launching a cigar brand, the first African cigar brand. So he joined me in Maputo. I had already hired a core initial team of cigar rollers to be trained. And that's how we started. And we started first with a local market to learn, to improve. We made a number of mistakes, and then we started improving all the time, and we branched out from there. Then keep in mind, South Africa is next door. It's a very developed economy, so we started exporting there. And, people help you along the way. I didn't know that I would sell one cigar. I thought if I can sell one cigar, I'm sure I can sell 1,000, but will I get one? And the short answer is people love it. People are very curious about other terroirs, as they call them in French, the mixture of soil, sun, tobacco, know-how, production, aging, all of that. I think people are always curious. I think Africa has its place in the whole world conversation about brands. Where are the African brands, right? Africa is a huge continent of 1.2 billion people. People of African roots are in every continent, in every country, but there aren't that many well-known African brands. So that was also an open avenue, and that helped us a lot.
So let's back up for 1 second. First of all, why the Dominican Republic? Why not Nicaragua, Honduras, or any other country?
I just needed to source know-how, to source people who knew something about cigars, because I didn't know much except for being a consumer. So I had already some contacts there, again through friends of friends and so on. So I just went there. I didn't even speak a single word of Spanish at the time. I mean, because I speak French, it was easy, but still. My wife at the time actually wrote down on a piece of paper the questions I should ask, so I could read them in Spanish. I would understand if people spoke slowly, but that was the level. And then, yes, because also I was at Dortmund a few months before. Dortmund is the big tobacco fair every year. And I had picked up some contacts from there, and they said, well, you speak with my cousin this, you speak with my friend that, the old cigar rollers, they'll introduce you to everyone you need. And that's what I did. I spent 20 days there in Santiago, just going around, meeting people and hiring people.
So I'm trying to wrap my head around you showing up in the Dominican Republic with a piece of paper with questions and just going around. I mean, that absolutely blows my mind. You know, how many people did you talk to? Did they think you were crazy?
Well, actually, they didn't, because they joined, but well, I did have some basic knowledge of Spanish, let's be clear, because I also spoke, keep in mind, in Mozambique, the language spoken is the African language, which is Zulu and Chingan, but also is Portuguese. So I spoke a half decent Portuguese. So I was able to sort of get by. But still, yes, I mean, now that you think of it, it's partly crazy. And maybe some people, maybe all of them, thought I was nuts. I mean, there are people who still think so to this day.
So what did you? I mean, Anthony. So you got him to just pack up his whole life. You know, what was the selling point? I mean, you have to be the world's greatest salesman to a roller, working for an established company, to pack up and move to Africa.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, I convinced him to join me in this project where we had not produced a single cigar to create the first African cigar brand. But you see, where there was a resource to tap into is this. So when you're a cigar roller in the Dominican Republic or elsewhere, you are paid a decent salary, but you are overworked. You have no part in the upside of the company. Generally, people are paid about $450, $500. I think it's gone up a little bit these days. But they barely get by. And by the end of the month, there's nothing left in the bank. And then they have to start again. And they're really, really pressed. Many of them work as second jobs as well. And I could see that talent could be put to work as part of a growth plan where you say to someone, look, you have that talent, you've got that know-how. I know how to set up a business. I know how to sell a product, or at least I can try. And I'll give you upside in that business. And if we go and take our share of the market, the upside is not only going to be mine, it's going to be, you're going to be part of that adventure. And every person in the firm today is, get a piece of the upside. They're not like just cigar rollers. We're all part of the same team. And people are very, very proud of what they're doing and of the growth they're creating, and for themselves, for the company, but for themselves and their families.
Kerr, could you drop everything and go to another country? I mean, it's just
well, like you said, I mean, when you have the opportunity, all things being relative, you show me a picture of that bridge, that might get me there. But I think with what was offered, it was probably an offer that was really tough to refuse, but that still takes a lot of courage and guts to do that, and more important, confidence in what your vision was. So that speaks volumes to what you were offering and your business plan.
Yeah, and look, 6 years down the road, if you ask Anthony, it's his life, it's his family. He derived from it quite a lot more money than he would have ever made. Mm-hmm. And of course, he's incredibly proud of the product and his team. But also keep in mind, depending on where you were born and where you live, opportunities are not the same. So in some places like the Dominican Republic, if you're a cigar roller, it can get tough. It's tough as a life. So if someone comes in and offers you a great opportunity, of course, you're leaving behind family and friends. And we had a good deal as to, how often he comes back, and the company pays for his travel, of course, and all of that. He had to trust, and I had to trust. I was away from my family as well, because by that time my family was back in Europe. But it was an amazing adventure. It still is.
So you bring Anthony back after 20 days over there. You bring him back to Mozambique. So did you have did you have the company, the factory, was it set up, or did you come back with him and you guys started building out a factory and getting tobacco? Like, how far along, like, were you into the company when you brought him in?
Yeah, so good question. No, what we did is, so we agreed on everything. Then I went back partly to Europe first and to Mozambique, and we finalized the deal together. I sent him a contract. He did a lot of due diligence on Mozambique and on me. So, for example, I got him to speak with quite a few contacts. How would life be like there? All of those things. So he knew quite a lot what he was getting into. He didn't just jump in completely, after 20 days like this. He spoke to a lot of, he spoke to a lot of people on the ground, researched it and so on. And I think got, and he checked my background as well, whether I was anywhere near serious and so on. And then, yes, I had already set up everything else so that by the time he arrived, everything was ready. I mean, by everything, I mean, I had hired the first core team of cigar rollers to be trained. We already had the premises. So the basics were there. And then by the time he got there, everything was more or less ready to get started. Otherwise, we're wasting our time.
So where did you hired the first team of cigar rollers to be trained by Anthony? Mm-hmm. Where did you pull those rollers from? Like, what industries were they in? Because obviously there's no cigar rolling. So what industries were they from?
Absolutely. That's the other thing. There's no cigar rolling. There was no cigar culture. So they worked, as so often in Africa, many people work in jobs that are slightly underpaid, and it varies. I think they were in some corporate environment. Basically, there's a guy who's the head of a bit like a charitable network. And he's got like Sunday church and all of that. And he was introduced to me because someone else who had started another business had worked with him to hire people. So, and since then, whenever we need to hire more people, we go to him. He's our only source. So he has a charity network. He has a lot of people, and he also simply knows all the mothers, a lot of the mothers, for example, who come to church on Sunday there, and so on and so on. So I interviewed people. I had the first four. Actually, were there three? The first three to start, and they were very happy to get started. They're all part of the company to this day, and they're actually very much at the heart of it. And then Anthony arrived, and one of the questions we had is, how long does it take to train a cigar roller who is not in the cigar culture, who is not Dominican, and so on? And also, we didn't know. I had budgeted for a year. We could survive this, with very minimal sales for a year. And within 3 months, we already had pretty decent cigars, basically. And I remember when I had the very, very first cigar, we went with Anthony, we dropped everything, we sat in a coffee shop. I have a picture of that very first cigar. And we sat there and we smoked it. And we loved it. It was too thin, too short, but that took some. We got that feedback way later from clients, but we loved it, and it was like, okay, this is incredible. This is nuts. We just made a cigar. So
that is I know that feeling because I've had those moments throughout life, But Kerr, you have a cigar company. You remember the first time I said, mm-hmm. You got your cigar. I have cigars made for me, but your first cigar.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like you said, when you have that moment, especially what Kamal's talking about with all the work they put into it, when you sit down and you smoke that first cigar, it's no matter how many construction issues there are, the flavor, you're just really happy and proud that, you got a very strong base and you couldn't be any happier.
Yeah, it's insane. And you've just done something that didn't exist before. Now, whether you'll be able to sell it to thousands and thousands of people is another story. But it wasn't there. Now it's here. So it was, and then from there we started selling low level locally, and then we got our first serious order from a distributor, and I was stunned. I was nearly I was almost had tears, I think, coming out of that meeting, because the guy was like, "Yeah, okay, send me 1,000 sticks, we'll take it from there." I was like, "Are you sure? You want 1,000 of those?" So it was amazing. It was insane. And I came out of there quite emotional. Of course, I didn't show it to him. I pretended, we did thousands per day. And that was it. And from there, it was ups and downs, some crazy ups, crazy downs. But generally, the direction of travel was one way.
Kev, I got a question.
Yeah.
When you said Anthony came in after you had, established the facility and had a couple of rollers, when he came in, what immediate impact did he make outside of training the rollers or walking in these? Don't like that, get rid of that, bring in, we need more of this. Like, what did he come in and make an immediate impact that you knew that this was the right choice?
Oh, you mean Anthony?
Yeah.
Look, without him, none of that would be happening, and because what he understood very, very well, that this was not about rolling cigars. This is about growing a project. This is about, first of all, transmitting that knowledge through the cigar rollers, giving them that not rolling cigars, but also giving them the whole tobacco cigar culture, and we all had to do every job. So he had to control quality. He had to be selective, we had to build the cigar, the construction, the draw together. So he had to be very steeped in everything, and not just be a cigar roller. And he understood that from day one. And he had also to be a good manager. And I remember down the road, I think within a year, there was some issues and some frictions with people, because some of the cigar rollers by that time were growing in confidence, and some of them were behaving. You have to manage their egos as well. Mm-hmm. So he came to my office, and I remember very well giving him the example of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with European soccer, with Real Madrid. And at the time, Zinedine Zidane was the coach, and I said, look, because everyone understands football. So certainly in Africa, where people are completely football crazy. So I said, look, Real Madrid, it has Ronaldo, it has this guy, that guy. They're all divas. They're all superstars. But the boss is Zinedine Zidane. He's the coach. You're the boss. You're the unrivaled, undisputed boss. But your job is to get the best out of people, out of everyone. And he gets it. He used to be, by the way, a nearly professional basketball player prior to being a cigar roller. So he gets it. He has that discipline and that sports mentality. So yeah, but now he's the boss there. This is why I'm not even there. He runs it.
Now, did he blend the cigar? Did you have, do you have a master blender? How did that go? Creating that first cigar.
We had, and we still do have, a panel of a number of cigar smokers in Mozambique. All these countries are big on cigars. Not big like in America, but there's a core group of people who smoke. It's a small market, so they quickly got to know us. And so we tested, and we still test to this day, we tested blends and different sizes and different blends, different everything on people, because it's not just about, we didn't have a master blender, we just had clients, and we tested on them, and we worked out a cigar that we liked. Then, as I said, some clients came back and said, look, it's too thin, can you make it bigger, can you make it this and that, which we did, again through a test, and down the road and actually we're coming out now with more blends and more sizes and so on.
So do you currently have a master blender or someone blending the cigars?
In a sort of an informal way, yes, but we do not have like one guy who's a master blender who's full on, because we have a blend that we worked a lot on. It works. We sell thousands and thousands, like the one you're smoking, the Robusto. So we don't change it. We have 2 other vitolas. We only have 3. That's the other thing is we thought let's do a small number of cigars and vitolas, but let's do them well. We're not going to compete, with here we are. So we have 3 vitolas. We have the Robusto, which is the 5x50, the one you're smoking. And by the way, Kerr, super apologies for you not having got your stock. I don't know what happened there. We shipped to both of you guys.
That's all right.
Yeah, we shipped from Tampa. Our stock is in Tampa, so I don't know what happened. Sorry for that. Now, we have also the Bongani 458. So that's 4 inches and 58 gauge. That's a thick and short cigar. It's a little reference to the Ferrari 458, by the way. And then we have the Bongani Toro, the 658, 6 inches by 58. We're going to be coming out with a Corona, I think, in the coming month. So 40 gauge, much thinner.
So, and then, and you said, and then you'll have future different blends as well.
Yeah, we will exactly. I mean, we test a lot on our clients, basically, because it's not just sometimes people say, "Let me try it." Well, yeah, great, but we need other palates, other people to try it as well and give us their opinion. And we have a number of really, and we just blind test on them on a regular basis to figure out our next vitola. Yeah.
So where are you sourcing the tobacco from? You talked about getting the Cameroon wrapper from Jeremiah Mirfel. Did he get you other tobacco? For the blends, for the binder fillers? Did you source those on your own, and where are they coming from?
So what we did is I brought 5 varieties of seeds from the Dominican Republic, which are the ones that are would be well known to Dominicans, like Piloto Cubano, San Vicente, Criollo 98, and so on. We brought the seeds, and we work with farmers in Mozambique and in Zimbabwe to grow the tobacco for us. But we will also buy tobacco from whoever produces great tobacco will buy from them. So we don't only exclusively use our tobacco or our farmers and so on. We just go and source the best tobacco we can find. Because at the end of the day, what we want is the best product we can produce. And then the cigar. So by the way, Zimbabwe is the country just west of Mozambique, which is one of the largest tobacco producing countries in the world. Yeah, exactly there. Yeah.
What kind of tobacco are they known for?
So they mainly produce cigarette tobacco, huge quantities that are shipped generally to the US, for example, to be included in some of the top cigarette brands. So the know-how to grow tobacco, so it's Burley, Virginia, that sort of stuff. So the know-how to grow tobacco is there, but it was generally cigarette tobacco. And that trend, you are going to see it more and more, by the way. So those farmers, they know how to grow tobacco. To give you a sense, a kilogram of cigarette tobacco will probably sell for $3 per kilogram. Okay, an aged and fermented cigar tobacco will probably sell at 2, 3, 4, 5 times this, all the way to $25 a kilogram. So they understand increasingly now that they can make much more money and much more margin by selling cigar tobacco as opposed to cigarette tobacco. So I'm not saying the whole country is switching there, but increasingly top farmers in Africa are working with some of the brands that you will know and growing tobacco for them. That's going to happen more and more. And that's sort of the next frontier. And indeed, I actually know personally some farmers in Zimbabwe, for example, who are shipping their tobacco to the Dominican Republic, and it is some of the brands you will know. Because demand is so large, the capacity in the Dominican Republic and Nicaragua is sort of hitting a little bit of maximum, right? And therefore, Africa offers the land, the know-how, and the labor costs that are much cheaper to produce top quality tobacco. So I think it's a trend that will happen, and of course, we want to be, at the forefront of that.
And Kevin, that's a great question. I wanted to ask, and I'm glad you asked that question, because when you were saying earlier that Africa and known for growing tobacco, and now understanding that a lot of it, the majority of it, has been cigarette tobacco. but they have the know-how of actually farming this tobacco. So to transition to cigar tobacco would be a no-brainer. And obviously the most well-known African tobacco is Cameroon, even though I guarantee about 30% of the people didn't know Cameroon was in Africa. And that's including Kevin, no pun intended.
It was, I'll be honest, like I said, it was probably only 2 years ago I found out Cameroon was in Africa.
Most people would be looking in South America or Central America for Cameroon, but what other tobaccos are being grown or that are grown in Africa that maybe they're not well known, or is it just that they're growing Nicaraguan seed or the Dominican or the tobaccos that they're bringing over and growing it in Africa, or is there specific tobaccos to some of these areas in Africa that are being grown as well?
What has happened is people brought in a wide selection of seeds from from the Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, and so on, and tested them, for example, in Zimbabwe and in Zambia, and then saw which varieties work, which don't. So to answer your question, am I aware of any 100% native tobacco? I don't think so. But it's all very fluid, because if you look very, very deep, I bet you some of those seeds in the Dominican Republic or elsewhere, or Nicaragua, maybe originated from somewhere else anyway.
Oh yeah, they all do. Yeah,
exactly. It's a very fluid. Thing. So, but I know for a fact, because I know some of the farmers who grow tobacco for some of the top brands, grow filler, for example, and it's shipped all the way back to. All the way back to the Dominican Republic.
So, Kevin, if Mexican San Andreas was grown in Africa, would it still be called Mexican San Andreas?
So there's actually a Jeff Borshowitz is actually a big proponent of getting more tobaccos labeled properly. Especially with shade, Connecticut shade. When you say it, a Connecticut shade. Seed, people, it's grown in Connecticut, and then it's not. It's ended up growing, it's grown elsewhere. And so he's a big proponent of actually labeling where the tobaccos are grown to prevent confusion and to prevent people, because they do grow Cameroon outside Cameroon as well. Yeah. But it's not the same. It doesn't taste the same, and everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like wine. It's exactly like wine, right? You might have grapes grown all over the place, and those grapes might have originated from some place, and then then they retain the name. For example, Shiraz. I don't know if you're familiar with the Shiraz red wine. That's originally comes from Iran, right? From the city southern Iran. But now if you're drinking Shiraz, it wasn't grown in Iran.
Yeah.
No, definitely not today. So what about, tell us about the farmers, that are growing this, you bring these seeds over, they're growing it. Obviously they know how to grow tobacco, but was there a steep learning curve on them fermenting tobacco? Because cigarette tobacco definitely 100% fermented different, especially the age than the cigar tobacco.
Yeah. That's the $1 million question. So we work with them, and actually we will be posting on Instagram. The new season starts just now, and one of our farmers, our key farmer in Zimbabwe, we will be posting the whole season from seed to seedling to planting to everything. So we basically, the short answer is whatever they don't know, they learn, and we help them with that learning. And actually, we will be flying one of the farmers to I think Nicaragua, for them to perfect that knowledge in terms of fermentation and so on. So it's all about, there's an element of learning as well as we go.
There's a question here from Ben Irwin. Are the tobaccos that are grown in Africa, African tobaccos, or the tobaccos brought over and grown in Africa, is there a noticeable flavor difference?
Well, honestly, it's for you to tell us. Certainly, the Cameroon, I think, is very distinctive for a start because of the very rich soils. It's very distinctive. It's probably a bit more spicy. I would say also, by the way, that our cigars are aged in. Cigars are aged in cedar sheets of cedar wood, and our sheets come from Ghana, which is in West Africa, which is very fragrant. Therefore, that also impacts, I think, and deepens the aroma of the cigars. And now that we have grown as a business, we age our cigars for longer. The aging of the tobacco also has much improved. So those flavors, I think you will perhaps sense more as we go.
I'm sorry. So Anthony, who's used to tasting tobacco grown in the Dominican Republic, has he mentioned or said something to you like you take that same seed grown in the Dominican Republic, you transplant it to Mozambique? Is that specific tobacco? Is it greatly different or is only slightly different? Can he tell like, hey, this is just a little different because obviously the soil, the climate, everything is going to affect that plant just a little bit more.
Yeah. Obviously it will be a bit different, but I think there are so many other components. For example, same thing, that same tobacco grown in Nicaragua will be different from the Dominican Republic, grown by these guys will be different from those guys, grown on this, So I think there are many components. I think it would be very, very hard to tell, look, this is 100%, African, this is 100% not African, and so on. It's really about the quality as opposed to the origin itself, I would argue.
And the quality is spot on. I smoked one last night. I just finished one right now. You did send us a 3-pack. So in our prize pack tonight, we give away cigars each week from one of our sponsors. I am going to toss in this final cigar for our lucky winner to get tonight. And it's a fantastic cigar. It's the construction was absolutely flawless. Razor sharp burn, nice draw, wasn't over tight, wasn't very loose. And I'm not an expert cigar reviewer, so to say I got notes of honey or chocolate or this or that, it was just a really good cigar. And it was unique. It did have a very unique flavor to it. Like if you smoked it and you didn't know anything about the cigar, you would question the cigar. Like, what is this that I'm smoking? It's definitely something that I'm not used to. So something to do with that tobacco grown over there is adding a little bit different complexity to the cigar.
And Kerr, I'll definitely make sure you get your cigars. I'll double check, see what happened there. With some luck, I think you get them by tomorrow. Look, for sure. By the way, we're happy to contribute a few more samplers for your viewers. So not just that one lonely cigar. I didn't.
Yeah. We definitely give cigars away each week. We always have a prize pack. So yeah, if you wanted to contribute anything else, we would definitely appreciate that. I'm sure our watchers, viewers would definitely love that as well. Let's talk about so you've got your order for the first 1,000 cigars. So now you're like a legitimate cigar company. You got your first order in.
Yeah.
Where does it? So what are there a lot of rules? Because Africa's got a lot of different countries. So when you're making in the Dominican Republic or Honduras or Nicaragua and you want to send to the United States, other than like state level stuff, it's essentially just one rule. The federal government. Mm-hmm. What is it? How is it getting cigars? Is there a lot of different rules and regulations for different countries in Africa?
Yeah, absolutely. Not just in Africa, all over the world. Dealing with cigars and tobacco is all about understanding the rules of import, export for every country, the health regulations. Do you have to have that health sticker or that one, and which size, and all of that. We learned very quickly, and sometimes the hard way, that this is absolutely crucial. Now in Africa, And so we started first branching out into the countries around us, obviously. So that would be South Africa, which is a very developed economy. And by the way, if you can, pull up a picture of Sandton, Johannesburg, for people to get an idea of what we're talking about. So, and then we branched out into Kenya. And yes, absolutely. The first thing you need to know in all these countries is how it works. What are the rules? What are the regulations? Above all, it's about tax. You know, the governments tax tobacco very highly, so you have to know the process and the taxes to be paid and so on. But other than that, the rules tend to be fairly straightforward. Okay, there's Sandton, Johannesburg for you. Again, I'm sure it would have challenged, the impression of many people. So this is the financial center in Johannesburg.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sandton is amazing.
That's not what I see on the Discovery Channel.
Yeah, exactly. Look, when you're dealing with Africa, there's a lot of cliches. So one of them is Safari Africa. Everyone thinks, the Lion King and lions and elephants and all of that. We thought as a brand, okay, I accept our logo has an elephant on it, but as a brand identity, this is not the message we want to convey. Another message is, of course, what I would call NGO Africa, because yes, there's been a lot of non-governmental organizations working there, and yes, there's still lots of inequality, lots of hardship, and so on. But also, this is not what we want to convey is the Africa that's rich or getting richer, that is confident, and that is projecting its own identity and its own cultural contribution to the world, including in music, in clothing, in fashion, and in luxury. And so this is what we want to be part of. And yes, so South Africa, Johannesburg is great fun. And Sandton is very, very cool. Very trendy. So we saw a picture of Johannesburg, the financial district there. I mean, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Looks like a lot of wealth there. Was it hard breaking into that, because, when we speak of like that much wealth, everybody wants the Davidoffs, they want the Don Pepins, they want the Cubans. Was it hard getting a local cigar? Did they think less? It's like, I want the super premium. Yeah. Well, this is the point. When people make money, I mean, they go from not make money, they go from poverty or lower middle class to middle class and so on up the chain. First, they want those flashy brands, whether in the cigar world or same in champagne and whiskey and so on. But then, as they're moving up that curve, they want products that talk to them, that are part of their heritage, of their culture, and they totally understand and want to create skills and jobs where they are. And they understand that it doesn't take a genius to buy a French champagne. But it's much more interesting if you're trying a local beer. And by the way, South Africa produces amazing wines, produces amazing brandy. And now we are from Mozambique and we produce cigars. So it's part of that trend towards local stuff. So was it hard? It's hard to say because I don't know how hard or not it is for other brands. I would just say this. If you go into a cigar shop, every single other cigar looks the same and sounds the same. And many have the same names, like San Juan, San Pedro, San this and that, all so many of them. So if you're coming in with a product that has a very distinct identity, a very different name, you can't go into a shop and say, hey, I tried a Dominican cigar last week. Can you just help me find it again? Well, that's not going to help a lot. Whereas if you come into a shop and say, hey, I've heard of that African cigar, how can I try it? Well, there's only one. So that opens a lot of doors. And we were hard sellers early on. It's like, look, you're in Africa, you have a cigar shop. There's nowhere on this planet you're not going to list the only African cigar. So, and having said all of this, so people will always try a new cigar. Certainly if it's an African cigar, they will try it. The real issue is, do they come back for more? Because otherwise we have no business. If we don't have repeat orders, we don't have a business. And when they try it, you can almost hear in their head the thought that goes, well, this is an African cigar, I'm curious, I'm going to try it, but it's going to be some cheap stuff, and I'm going to go back to my usual very quickly after that. And then they're surprised. They're surprised that we have the quality, we have the build, we have the construction, the draw, and so on. And then they come back. And today we have very regular clients all over the world. People write us, by the way, on Instagram, on Facebook every day, and we love it. Please keep it coming. We keep a book of all client feedback. I send it to the team whenever we have it just makes our day. When someone from all over the world just sends a picture, say, hey, I just enjoyed the Bongani, in New York, in Hawaii. We got a guy in Hawaii. So it's amazing. Sorry, I diverged a little bit there.
No. That's what we love. That's what the show's all about. We just kind of go with the flow. So you're branching out. What was your first step out of Africa? What was the first country that brought you in outside Africa?
Yeah, in a way, we probably could have branched out earlier. Basically, what happened is we got media coverage. So I think within 2 years of starting, the BBC, the British broadcaster, came over. They did a documentary on us in the fabrica, in the factory. Yeah. It's actually on YouTube. You can see it on our channel. So that gave us a lot of exposure. Reuters came in as well and did an article. The New York Times did one, and then a lot of the Cigar Journal did one as well, and so on. So people started calling us, wanting to distribute the brand or asking, hey, where can I find it? And of course, so from there we started branching out. I'm not sure what our first country outside Africa, maybe Switzerland, maybe the US. They all sort of happened at the same time, more or less. We're in the UK, we're in Switzerland today, we're in and in the US as well, yeah, and many other smaller countries, very very unlikely places where people would just call us. We have someone in Barbados, someone in Japan. It's like, why not?
Well, because it's different, it's. So when a regular company, Kerr and I, we come out with a cigar where we have it made in the Dominican Republic, Honduras, Nicaragua, we bring it into the US. We have to really push, why that cigar is different. When in reality, it's essentially, the same as all the other cigars are out there. You have that one leg up. You have an African cigar. It's just that, it's that one extra reason to give them to try your cigar versus everybody else. Now, was that media coverage? Was that good and bad? That much coverage, that young of a company, that could actually hurt a lot of companies, that would force them to overproduce or produce faster and cut corners. Did you see it as good and bad?
It was good on balance, definitely good. We're always happy, to have exposure. Probably a bit early for us in the game, but that was always going to happen a bit like that. And yes, look, when you're starting, you are definitely trying to balance between aging your cigars and needing cash to pay the bills. So you always want to age your cigars more and better and so on. And you always want to sell your cigars because you need the money. So early on, we definitely struggled a lot with that. Now we're much, we're bigger, we're more solid, but it was a challenge, yeah, for sure. And also remember, it's not only about the cigars, it's everything else. It's the packaging, it's the branding. For example, I don't know if you guys have seen our box. Hold on, let me show you a box. Because our box opened also a lot of doors. So this is I don't know, can you guys see, this is the box. So you know,
there you got a little closer.
Yeah, there it is.
There you go.
Yeah, there's a bit of a delay on the.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically we worked almost for a year on the box. It's black with our gold logo on it. Basically, the reason is because these are the colors of the region. There, the black and the gold. You can see them also on the flags and so on. and our motto here says "Smoke Africa," which also comes from our clients. It doesn't come from us, because we had a group of clients in South Africa, and they were smoking Bonganis, and one of their friends shows up, and he's holding a cigar, and he's holding a Cuban cigar. So they said to him, I wasn't there. They told me the story afterwards, and they said, "Hey, what are you smoking? Come try this. We are smoking Africa." So not we are smoking an African cigar or African-made cigar. We are smoking Africa, and I loved it. So we changed our motto, and it became Smoke Africa.
I love that. That was actually, for me, that was, I mean, you're telling that story, and that's, I got a little emotional. I mean, I love that, Smoke Africa, smoke, yeah, I love it. I absolutely love that story. I love how that came out. That's just absolutely, it wasn't a PR firm that made made that tagline. I mean, it come from the people smoking your cigar. That's absolutely awesome.
Love it.
Thank you.
So how difficult was it to get into the U.S. market? How far along were you? Because you started the company in 2016, and I think I've been seeing your cigars for about a year now, maybe here in the States. So how long have you been here in the U.S.?
Longer, about 2.5 years at a lower level, and then building up gradually. The US is a huge market, so we just decided to focus on some specific areas, because we cannot, we didn't want to work with any of the large distributors. I don't know whether they would have worked with us or not, but we didn't want to be beholden to one guy who says, hey, essentially they would buy our whole production. We prefer, it comes from my banking days. When you start as a banker, the one thing that's drilled into you is know your client. You have to know who you're doing business with. And I love knowing our clients, whether they are shops or lounges or even end clients. And therefore we start small and we build bit by bit. So in the US, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, so you have, so you're out of Tampa. You're out of Dave Blanco, who's distributing your cigars out of Tampa. Do you have other distributors, or is Blanco your main distributor?
We worked with another distributor as well, and no, Blanco does nothing for he's not our distributor. Basically, we distribute our cigars.
Okay. I thought
we have sales reps. Yeah, we have brand ambassadors all over the country, and then people just get in touch, and we supply them. By people, I mean mainly cigar lounges and shops.
Okay, so do you have obviously in the future aspirations of having a sales force here in the U.S., or you just want to mainly stick with the sales brokers?
No, we want to build our sales force in the US, build our presence. We also have a website that works quite well. And so we do sell online as well. And we're growing very nicely. We always say we want to do it one cigar at a time, one client at a time. So we're not trying to throw money at it and hope it sticks. We just do it on a very regular sort of growth that we can manage, because we don't want to be stressed out by too much growth. Because the one thing that is more stressful than a client who doesn't want your product is a client who wants your product and you can't deliver. That's horrible. So we do it on a very careful managed growth basis.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than that, and having some of these companies that start off, they'll hit the market with 8, 10, 12 different blends, and then they can't keep up, and then they're always on back order. They're not always being able to supply. I like the companies that start off, just have, 1 blend, 2 blend, 3 or 4, and that's it, just at least perfect what you have, and then move up.
Yeah. You don't need more than that. Now we have one strong advantage it is our factory. We are not subcontracting production to another factory. And that gives us I think, a quite strong strategic advantage because we can control, we can grow our production as we need it. We don't run the risk of and please tell me your experience of that, but we don't run the risk of, being on back order because our factory cannot produce or something. We're busy with another brand. Do you struggle with that at all?
Yeah, that's the big thing, like you just hit the nail on the head when you say struggle with another, or struggle with a brand, especially on a new brand. If you go to a factory, Kerr can probably expound on this, is, if you're only ordering 1,000 cigars. So I just got in a shipment for my company, a couple weeks ago, 1,000 cigars. I was not high on the list for 1,000 cigars. There were other people making 100,000 cigars, 200,000 cigars. So to make 1,000 cigars, that's nobody wants to do that. Luckily my friend owns the factory, so we got him a little quicker, but yeah, Kerr can definitely,
I'm lucky enough. The factory I work with in Nicaragua, the owner and I are pretty tight, and we have a good partnership. So if we have that, like what you're saying, Kamal, you have that flexibility that if you want to try a different Vitola, just do a short run of Vitolas just for a specific country, you have that flexibility to do that. Where if you want to do that at another factory, some of them have minimal orders. Like Kevin said, if it's not an X amount that you're ordering, it's probably going to be lower on the list, so you can't have a quick turnaround time. And there's other factories I've worked with where they'll just kind of rush through your stuff real quick and just to get it out, and then you get cigars that are either improperly made, or they're not filled with enough tobacco, or the tobacco's not fermented, and then you get a really sloppy, poor product. And when you're a small brand, that can torpedo you. So you have a great deal of not only dictating, your cigar production, but also you can really dictate any entrance of newer blends or newer Vitolas and do test runs and see how it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And for example, we did have a batch once with bad quality. It wasn't growing. It was a problem. Well, we ditched it. We didn't. It's not like we still had to ship it or whatever. We just ditched it completely. So so we do have that advantage, absolutely. And also we work closely. So if we know what orders are coming down the pipeline, we plan in accordance with that. And every quarter we hire more cigar rollers whom we train as well. And so we know that our production capacity is growing, and we can plan for that. We also have surge capacity. If really we wanted to produce way more, we could quickly.
Plus, if you do, like you said, if you do the quality control and you recognize that there's a bad batch, that's your factory. So that's your name. You don't have to go back and argue with someone and go back and forth of, well, do you have it properly humidified? You're not going back and forth with those arguments. The only person that you'd be lying to is yourself at that point. So, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that does, that gives us an advantage for sure. And we're very, very keen on quality. That was from day one. We understood that what will make us or break us is quality, is not volume. Right. So, there has been cases where literally I would call myself the client, the end client, say, look, I'm sorry, you mentioned this issue, let me replace it, or, let me send you a sampler and so on. And people would be surprised sometimes.
But you say that, you quality, because there is a stigma, and I'll be honest, when I got the cigars in, it's an African cigar. There's a stigma that we see because of movies, because of TV shows of what Africa is truly all about. So you have to have that high quality, because if the quality was low, then the consumer was right. And I knew it was going to be a cheap cigar, but so you have to have that super high quality, which your cigars are, the few that I've smoked. So it's definitely something that you cannot compromise on, versus, any other company can have, maybe a bad cigar here and there. You guys really can't. You guys have to have the best all the time.
Yeah. And we're very, very keen on our clients. As I say, it's a bit of a community. People reach out to us. And we always prefer to lose a cigar than to lose a client. So if there's any issue, we will replace it. But to be fair, we've had very, very few issues. We test a lot, and we take care of our clients for sure. We depend on them.
Now, how many rollers or how many people work in the factory now?
15. So we're still a very small operation. We're growing, as I say, every quarter we hire 2 to 3 cigar rollers, keeping in mind that 15 people can produce a lot of cigars.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
So, and we do it, by the way, with the Dominican culture, not the Cuban culture. I don't know if you're familiar with that in Cuba. So, of course, the cigar is made by these 2 components. One is the inside, and then you put the wrapper afterwards, right? The guy who does the inside is called the bonchero, and the guy who puts on the wrapper is called the rolero. In Cuba, it's the same person doing both. You see it, for example, if you go to Tampa and you see some of the bars producing cigars there, it's the same person doing everything because they have this Cuban tradition. We do it the Dominican way. So we have part of the team they're all roleros, part of the team they're all boncheros. And for a long... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, so now when Anthony came in, were there any changes that he had to make because of either the workers, the environment, or was he able to pretty much replicate a Dominican factory in Mozambique and it's exactly the same?
No, it's not exactly the same. We had to adapt. Especially in the beginning, because the team was very small. So it was almost like he had to do everything. But it definitely has a bit of the Dominican culture behind it. For example, the way the tables are positioned are the Dominican way. Because I said, look, why don't we put them like this? He's like, no, they have to be in a row like that. Okay, fine. So all these small details, and then yes, we every day, like we had to change and correct and improve all the time, because otherwise we would have never made it. I mean, first of all, we came to near death. I don't know, certainly once or twice, really, really close, and so we had to learn and change all the time, get feedback from clients, and adapt to the locals. Having said that, one of the incredible surprises is how quickly people got on to rolling cigars, how quickly they are trained and how quickly they're good at it. For all sort of reasons, but even now we hire youngsters, and within 3 months they're already producing a small quantity, but of good quality cigars. And we don't pressure on volume. So in the Dominican Republic, you are paid by the number of cigars you roll per day. So you have a very strong pressure on volume, which is fair enough. These guys produce hundreds of millions a year, so it's a different game. In our case, we don't pressure on volume; we pressure on quality. So but also labor costs are much lower, so we can afford to do that. And finally, in Mozambique and even in some other countries, we were like a dominant cigar. So that gives us a lot of financial base to be able to experiment and to afford lower volume and higher quality. We don't need to pressure people on volume.
3 months, Kev. You and I, there's still hope.
Yeah, 3 to learn how to make. No, it's and I'm assuming Kamal that the majority of your rollers are women, like they are in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah. Yes. Actually, for a while they were all women, only women. And they said, look, next batch of guys, you come in, we need guys here. It's too many women. So I mean, we do not select per gender, but then suddenly we started getting male cigar rollers as well. And that's a new thing.
Women are just better at that fine detail. It's just something, men, you see that men are you'll see more of them as the bonchero, but when it comes to the roleros, you're still, it's probably got to be 99% women still at every factory in the world.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I didn't quite think about it like that, but anyway, yeah. So we're maybe 80% women, 20% male.
So how has the cigar community grown just in Mozambique? Have you seen because of what you do? Are you walking down the streets of Mozambique seeing more people smoking cigars? Are there more lounges popping up? As a direct result of you guys establishing your business.
There are certainly more lounges popping up in Mozambique and elsewhere, and South Africa, Kenya, and so on. The cigar culture all over Africa is growing quite a lot. So you will see, depending on the country, you will see the brands that are there. Some of them, sometimes there are fake Cubans as well, but increasingly less and less. And you get some very good cigar lounges. Now, did we contribute to that? Possibly. I mean, we sell a lot in Mozambique, pretty much everywhere. It's a bit of our home market. I think we have possibly contributed to the cigar culture. Yeah, for sure. I mean, we sell quite a bit there. But I mean, there was the time in Kenya, we were not just the number one cigar, we were the only cigar, because the importer of Cuban cigars went bust. And for a while, we're the only cigar in town. That was great.
It's funny to see there are fake Cuban cigars everywhere on this planet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But increasingly, people know about it, and no one wants to be caught with a fake Cuban. You're not going to impress anyone with that. So there's a massive crackdown in Mozambique, for example, or elsewhere on fakes.
Next to money, Kevin, the most counterfeited product in the world is Cuban cigars.
Cuban really?
Cigars.
I didn't know that.
It's crazy. Just and then the pricing of Cuban cigars. They're just pricing themselves out of the market. Especially with going on a Hong Kong-based pricing schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they're thinking. They're just going to price themselves out. And that's it. Nobody's going to be able to afford Cuban cigars.
Yeah,
in any country.
Yeah, I mean, even in Switzerland, which is a very rich market, people complain now about the prices of Cuban cigars, and the quality, it doesn't match that pricing. So they're losing market share for sure.
Yeah, Bahique just raised their price. It's $350 US for a Bahique now.
Oh wow,
that's crazy.
That's insane.
It's insane when they can buy boxes and boxes of other cigars.
Yeah.
So how is your cigars pricing? Can the average, I don't know what like the exchange rate of Mozambique, can the average person afford to buy? That's going back to my stigma of what I know about Africa from movies and TV show. Is there a lot of, is it more middle class, than there is lower class? Or
yeah, there is. So our cigar, for example, in the US, the Robusto you're smoking sells for $11.90 at the shop. Okay, in Mozambique, it sells for same thing, about $12 equivalent, $12. So yes, there are plenty of people who can afford the cigar, not a problem. It's a lower middle class, so they would be slightly poorer than the USA, but there's definitely a growing middle class. And if you want to have a good time, it's easier to buy a good cigar than it is to buy a new car. So if you want to show off a little bit, so yes, there's plenty of people who can afford a cigar, not a problem. And in Africa, all over the place, it's very much a community, family, friend sort of culture. It's not an individualistic culture. And so to enjoy cigars with friends, with a good beer or the whiskey and so on is very much in the culture.
So what's next for the company? Will you be out here in Las Vegas at PCA next week?
No, we're not going to PCA because it's very big. It's a bit too big for us at this point. We are growing our presence, as I say, one client at a time on a gradual basis in the US. We're getting quite nice traction, all over. So we just want to keep growing on a gradual basis. The US is a great market for us. Keep in mind that the African American community in the US connects really, really well with Bongani, with our cigars, because of our African heritage. So in Atlanta, there's very strong demand. Sometimes in Florida as well. Florida is a bit more challenging, and in other states as well. So we'll just keep growing on a gradual basis.
Florida is always challenging because we have no tobacco tax, so there are so many cigars here in Florida. You can go into any lounge and then have your choice of hundreds and hundreds of cigars. So to convince a lounge owner to bring your cigar in, they say Florida here, it's where I'm at. It's the toughest market to really break into.
Yes. Although we are in some top lounges, but yes, I agree with you. It's much harder. It's also got a much more Caribbean, Latino, Cuban culture as opposed to an African culture. Whereas whereas Atlanta or even Houston, Texas, wherever, we're African. There is definitely a big community there that is very interested.
So perfect. So what can to finish up? Tell us about Mozambique. Just the city that you haven't that you haven't told us before. What's the history of the city, and people if people want to come and visit, what can they expect? We'll show up this picture one more time.
Yeah, if you can show up actually the map, perhaps, so we show people where Mozambique is. What they can expect is a holiday of their lifetime. Okay, I lived in Mozambique for a number of years. It's absolutely amazing. So first of all, you're looking here at 2,000 miles of amazing beach. Okay, so you can see the country there. It has an amazing coast on the Indian Ocean. Lovely people, great food, and amazing sea and beach for a start, and good cigars, by the way. So what can you expect? It's friendly. There's a lot of great places to stay, from the very, very, very high-end luxury all the way to something more affordable. If you're going to Mozambique, absolutely give us a call. Incidentally, when I got married years and years ago, I actually, by complete coincidence, one part of my honeymoon was in northern Mozambique, where you have amazing islands. If you're into buying an island, this is the place to be. You have hundreds of really, really stunning islands on that imagine blue water, white sand underneath, just magical. So parts of Mozambique are like that. It's also very unspoiled. It's not quite highly developed yet. And that's really refreshing. That means you can go diving, and there is amazing sea life, one of the best in the world. It still has a bit of this adventure feel to it. Probably some parts haven't changed since it was first developed. So the history is that the Portuguese, and maybe we can end on this, but the Portuguese started colonizing Africa, and then of course the English and the French did the same. Now the Portuguese colonized Africa around. Maybe on the map you could see it. So they stayed around the coast, and they set up outposts on the coast, which is why Mozambique on the east, Angola on the west, and further up on the west is Cape Verde, and so on. They speak Portuguese. The French went more from west to east, and the English went north to south. That's roughly how you can divide it. So here you can see on the Kenya, Tanzania, and so on, they speak English. Mozambique speaks Portuguese. South Africa speaks English. It's a mixture. But having said all of this, amazing country. Really lovely people, and a lot of space. Just beautiful.
What is everybody when they travel to a different country or even to a different state here in the U.S., it's always not always. It's a lot about food. So what are some cultural favorite dishes? Of Mozambique.
Seafood is amazing. because it is not industrial, you still have amazingly huge lobsters and king prawns and so on. Generally just cooked on the barbecue. That would be definitely a local specialty. And you can go to the market, the fish market, pick it up. We used to have these amazing huge lunches, invite friends over with crazy seafood.
So is it a cost-effective place to visit? You know, obviously if you go to London or if you go to the UAE, you're gonna have a large expenses of getting there, and then hotels and food. Mozambique is still an affordable place that people can visit.
Yeah, it would definitely be cheaper than Dubai. That's for sure. It is cost effective. It's not going to be dirt cheap, but it is cost effective. You will pick up a beer for a couple of dollars, $2-3, not for $20, and it's very genuine. And you will see on a Friday, everyone is by the beach, barefoot, dancing away, music. You will have these ladies with their ice boxes selling beer or Coke and so on. And it's look. If you hit up Mozambique, if you go to Mozambique, hit us up, call us. We'll take care of you. We'll show you around and make sure you've got enough cigars for the stay.
All right, Kerr, you hear that?
He said you could buy an island, Kev. So
Yeah.
I'm banking on you to buy an island to decrease our cost.
That's it. You've been in this business longer than me, so you'll have to front some of that.
I'm poor.
Yeah. So, Kerr, do you have any final questions, thoughts for Kamal before we let him go tonight?
No, I appreciate the time and great history lesson and dispelling the myth of the Discovery Channel, Kev.
I know it's the only movies we see are Lord of War and all these types of movies. That's all we know.
Yeah.
About Africa. So now we need some real movies showing real Africa.
But just come out with a cigar and just call it Dispelling the Myth.
Yeah.
And that's it. Right there you go. But no, thank you very much. Really great information on the tobacco culture in Africa and how more and more cigar tobacco is being grown, and just wish you continued success and great fortune with the business.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you for having me on. It was lovely.
Oh, you're very welcome. And anybody watching tonight or listening to the podcast in the future, in the show notes down below are links to the Bongani website, their social media. So definitely check them out. If you're here in the States, you can get their cigars here in the States. You go to their website, they have a US store, you can hit that button and then you can purchase the cigars, here in the US. So definitely give them a try. It's a good cigar. Like I said, I had nothing but nice things to say about it. Great construction. And it's an African cigar. That's just right there should just tell you just to buy it. Just
Smoke Africa.
Smoke Africa. I love it. I absolutely love it. So Kamal, thank you so much for coming on and spending an hour and a half of your late evening with us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, you have a great evening. Have a great morning. All right, thank you.
We'll see you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right. While everybody start typing in the word cigar for our Tapping Ash and Taking Names giveaway. In the meantime, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Corona Cigar. You find the video, Corona Cigar.
Come on, Kev. Let's see. It's time for the Tapping Ash and Taking Names giveaway presented by Amendola Family Cigars. All right, let's share. Let me go to the comment section, see if everybody's got it in.
All right, let's share my screen.
Sydney Butler wants to know where you can get a sampler.
BonganiCigars.com. Kerr, you can put the sampler down at the bottom there because I know we got
it on there to just put the
yeah. So go ahead and throw
you
that.
Can't override my overridden.
That's it. Kerr, can you see the screen since I'm on a different computer?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Round and round. Who can't win?
It's a list. So we'll Rick G can win. He's not on my list. So thank you, Rick G. Send me an email, Kevin@cigarprop.com. We're going to send you a prize pack out. This week's prize pack is 6 cigars from Corona Cigar. This is the regular Cigar of the Month Club shipment from June 2023. And then inside there, I'm going to throw in one of the Bonganis that I have left over. I think you're really going to like that cigar. All right, next week we welcome Eric Drazen, the Oak Glen tobacconist, on the show. I have been following Eric on all the social medias forever now, and he just makes fantastic content, super, super high quality. I love the retro vibe that he puts off, so can't wait to speak with him and learn a little bit. I don't know anything about Eric other than he's the owner of Oak Glen Tobacconist. So
Oakland?
Oak Glen out in California, Glenn. Yeah, Oak Glen Tobacco, OGT Cigars. So make sure you're following Cigar Prop, producer Jessica, who's not with us tonight, Kerr Viajante of Stogie Rose Cigars, Bongani Cigars. It's scrolling on your screen right now. The website, the social media links for them and all of us are in those show notes down below. I got to stop moving. I'm disappearing on my green screen. Yeah, click on those and definitely support all of our advertisers, our partners, for making this show happen each and every week. We really can't make it happen without them. So once again, thank you to JC Newman Cigars, CigarMedics, Amendola Cigars, We Are the Muscle, Jake Wyatt Cigars, Illusione Cigars, Deep in Flavor, Deep in Your Mind, K by Karen Berger Cigars, Corona Cigar, and of course Drew Estate and Experience Acid. Kamal, we're going to bring you back up here in a second. Kerr, leave our viewers, our listeners, with some final thoughts.
Hey, listen, great show. Again, some great history. Go visit the Bongani Cigars website and try a sampler, man. Smoke Africa.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Smoke Africa. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
We'll see you.